Listen, before we start this episode of the Jocks and Jills podcast, we just want to start by sending all of our love to Southern California. So heartbreaking, Tessa, just to see the images and the videos and the loss there. So donate where you can. We just wanted to start by sending our love to that corner of the world.
Absolutely. We got some family and friends that are being affected down there too, Julia. So our heart goes out to everybody. We know that a lot of people, this is reaching out and branching out and affecting a lot of people in their families. So just know that we're all in this together. And like Julia said, any way that you can help, please do.
Okay, Jocks and Jills, episode 17. Tessa and Julia with you. How we doing, Tess?
I'm doing great. I got a little refresh when we were in Montreal. I mean, there wasn't much sleep or anything, but it felt like I was a kid again.
Yeah, it actually did. CCM Hockey House in Montreal this past weekend was amazing. Tessa's rocking the jersey right now if you're watching on any video platforms. So it was basically, you and I went to FTW night the evening before was influencer night. That looked like a lot of fun too. Obviously, I had travel issues that resulted in me missing the first night of the event, which is, I don't know, just on brand. And honestly, I'm skipping ahead a little bit right now, Tessa, but I'm going to Ottawa tonight. I'm doing Ottawa's game against Toronto on Tuesday, which I'm really excited about. But I'm looking outside and it do be snowing hard. It do be snowing hard. I'm thinking about getting in the car and just driving.
You probably should. My thing is like, what airport are you flying out of? One, because that will determine.
Porter.
If you're flying out of the city in Toronto, you're canceled. Just start driving or book a new flight out of Pearson
I'm thinking about the
International.
train. You think I hit the train up? But honestly,
you know how I feel about the train.
You
I
love
am
the train.
choo-choo all day long. Ride that train.
Choo-choo all day long. Okay,
Let's
I got
ride it.
distracted. CCM Hockey House Montreal. The reason we felt like little kids is because Tessa and I were absolutely ripping the ODR, trying out all CCM's new stuff. The Vision sticks are sick. Don't be surprised if you see them popping up around the PWHL with the CCM players. I didn't think I was, and I'm not good enough at hockey to feel the difference between sticks, but I actually was holding that Vision. I liked the way it felt. I was like, Tessa, I think this might be a game changer for me.
I don't even know how much we're allowed to talk on it per se, but when I picked it up, just know the first time you pick the stick up, you're going to go, wait, what? What's going on here? And then you're going to stick out and you're going to be like, wait a minute, I like this. And then basically the more you shoot, the more you stick handler, you're just going to be like, how have I been using anything else? That's where I was at.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. I even had a stick that I felt like, I was using a 55. I wanted a 65 or 70, but I was like, I'm kosher with this 55 because of the way this feels. Like the feel of it.
Yeah, dude,
felt
you were
good.
snapping it around.
It was nice.
You were
out there. It
snapping
was
it
fun.
around. Who was out there with you? You were against Cassie Campbell. You're against Catherine Ward.
Against Caro.
Yeah. Carolyn Ouellette. Who else was out there? Who was on your team?
I had
Corella
Corella
Mard was on
Mard,
your team.
Julie
You guys were quite the
Chu,
duo.
me and Cax. Yeah. I think she still plays. She's got some spunk. And like I said, I play with Shirley Girlies on Tuesday nights where it's mainly about beer and wings. But like, I have to get a workout to earn midnight beer and wings. Am I right? So like, I'm often, and it's on Olympic size ice. We got beer league on
Shirley
Olympic size
Girlies?
ice. Deadly. I know. We're beasts.
I didn't know that. It was
Yes.
Olympic size at the ODR that we were at too.
It was huge. I don't know if it was Olympic size, but I was just like, this is so spacey and so nice. And the wind was coming off just proper. Like right when you're getting a little warm, the wind came across. And then I realized, okay, the faster I skate out here with the wind, the more frozen in place my face is getting. And like, I was smiling like my 7-year-old self out there. And I literally came off the ice at one point and I looked over at Chewy and we were both had this grin frozen on our face. She's like, I can't not smile. I'm like, me too. My face is stuck.
I actually have a video of that moment that I'll post at some point this week. Yeah, man, it was cold, but that's one of my favorite feelings in the world is being cold, but also having enough fun that it's keeping you warm. And that's exactly where we were at.
So this is, I hope I don't get my Sudbury card removed or my Northern Ontario card removed in saying this, but like Cassie Campbell Pascal landed, she was texting me. She's like, yo, I didn't pack any outdoor stuff. I'm like, you're an insane person. We are in Montreal, and it is an outdoor event, Cassie. She's like, oh, I called Caro to try and bring me some things. I'm like, listen, I'm going to buy a little thin pair of mitts to put under my gloves. As well, I need to pick up toothbrush and deodorant. So I will totally buy you an undershirt so you can be warm.
Layers make all the difference.
And then I was like walking and I'm like, ooh, it is crispy out here. I'm like, Julia, are you going to be wearing, your undergear to the skate, or are you packing a bag? Like, are you wearing regular clothes there? You're like, how many layers are you wearing? It's not even cold. I'm like, what? Am I soft? What's happened to me?
I was probably being dramatic and saying it's not even cold, but it was definitely the perfect temperature for outdoor activities. It could have been a little balmier, but I feel like we're used to the kind of cold where it was like, if I go outside, my face will burn. And it wasn't that level.
No. It was the type of cold where the ice is super hard and the snow makes that good squeaky crunch when you step on it. But your eyelashes aren't freezing together.
Dude, you actually just took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say it wasn't quite eyebrow and eyelash freezing weather. It was just below that, which made it balmy in my book.
Yeah, like your nostril hairs aren't turning white. You were fine.
Yeah. What about skiing with the kids? Was it warmer for that too? Or was it eyebrow, eyelash freezing level?
No, you know what? I don't know, because you're sweating a lot. Because Annie still has the clips on the front of her skis to make her do pizza because she's an all fries kind of girl. And so when you're trying to like ski skate to the little, what do you want to call it? Like the magic carpet, I think is what they call it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So when you're trying to ski skate there, it would take you probably about 7 years to get there if you allowed a kid with that little hook on the front of the two skis, because they can literally only go like scooty, scoot. So I literally just pick her up and I skate with her. So I'm sweating. Nonetheless, kids are getting good on the hill.
Nice. That's a workout.
I'd say 2 years we could probably go on a family trip.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite moments from last season is you sitting by the fireplace with your little toucan on your ski trip.
Yeah. Well, that was just Ed and I when we were in Tremblant. That was a much needed go away ski trip for the two of us. But Ed was in the hot tub guzzling local beverages. It was fantastic.
That was honestly one of the best. The episode, the infamous episode.
Okay. There was a lot of and I was exhausted. I'd been skiing all day and I had a couple pops, so whatever. But I will say this, Julia. Montreal, CCM, thank you. That was awesome. When they blew the final whistle, I jumped over the boards and threw my gloves and my stick and celebrated with the tendy, and everybody came in and followed suit. I didn't even know what the score was. I didn't even know if we won. We literally were jumping around and Chewy came in. Chewy came in the huddle last and started jumping. We're all jumping. I'm like, guys, did we win? And everyone looked at me like, I don't know. And Julie's like, yeah, we did. We won whatever the score was. She was keeping track.
That's who I was asking all game. Like, what's the score right now?
Yeah.
she was keeping track the whole time.
She would know. Harvard 11.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
But like
gosh.
I said, I'm going to Ottawa tonight. I'm absolutely pumped.
So jealous.
Battle of Ontario, my first time getting to be inside TD Place. Like, I'm so excited to be amid those fans.
Rub it in. Yeah, it's great. Sure, turn the knife.
I know. I'm sorry.
You know what? I'm happy that you're going there though, because then you can see how we can incorporate ourselves when we end up going there for realsies, the two of us. Tons of fun. I want to go there. Can I tell you this? I want to go there before the canal thaws. There's nothing more that I want to do than just rip on the canal and have myself a beaver tail. That's all I want to do.
Oh my gosh, dude. We are the same person. It's actually hilarious because I booked my hotel as close as I possibly could to the canal so I could maybe go by myself for a little rip around. That's
so
why
good.
I booked it right
I know where you're staying. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm hoping I could get out there for a quick little whip around. They got skates and stuff I'm sure you could rent, right?
Yeah, they do. They have rental skates.
Yeah, I'm
for
stoked.
sure.
I've never been on the canal. Lots to talk about though with Ottawa. So let's get to our headlines this week in the PW. Yeah.
This is a headline. You're Canadian and you've never skated on the canal?
No, I'm from too far north. Yeah, I've never been there in the wintertime. I've been to Ottawa only a couple times. I haven't been to Ottawa that many times, honestly. I've been for
what?
Yeah, dude. PWHPA All-Star back in the day. Shout out. That was a sick event.
Yeah.
I've been for a baseball tournament in the summer.
Okay, so you've been to Ottawa twice. All right,
I've
let's
been to
get you on
Ottawa
that
2
canal.
times. I'm excited. Yeah. And being there for a baseball tournament. Side note, what the hell was I doing there in the summer for a baseball tournament? I saw one of the guys at Parliament pass out. That's my most lasting memory of Ottawa. It was super hot. What are those guys again? I don't want to embarrass myself as a Canadian.
What are you talking about?
The dudes in the...
You were in that... You were in there? You were at a baseball tournament? They brought a bunch of kids to watch government stuff?
Yeah. Well... No, I think it was like in the morning. Did they do like a change? I'm really going to embarrass myself as a Canadian right now. Did they do like a changing of the guard? Did they do like something like that?
Oh, you saw a guard pass out outside?
Yeah, exactly. It was hot as hell. And they were trying to be serious. And the guy dropped. That was my lasting memory of Parliament.
And she never went back to Ottawa after that until now.
Haven't been back since, so I'm ready for a better. Experience. Like I said, though, that PWHPA event, yeah. We did,
that was sick. That was sick.
Yeah. That was honestly like one of my favorite little events from that era of hockey. Anyways, headlines, PWHL. Let's get to them. A lot of close games this week, Tessa. I know that it's always a theme in the PWHL, and just in women's hockey in general, like 3-2 overtime is the classic score. This week was a real week of close games and overtimes. Boston-Ottawa game, really good example of that. You wanted to talk a little bit about Boston's schedule before we talk about the game itself, though.
Yeah, it's insanity. I don't think anybody realizes that they've been on the road since December 26th. It is now January, the time we're recording this, 13th, but 14th when people are listening to this. They've been on the road. This team, absolute road warriors. Like, first of all, how are you packing a carry-on bag for all of that time? Because they're one home game. I saw the
girls talking about that, actually. Erin Ambrose was on, I think she was on Jeff Merrick's show, The Sheet. She was talking about how, and that's a different team. Montreal has been on an insane Western road trip too. Carry on.
Look, I know the workaround, however, because I too understand this. I went to Ohio State. We flew to Minnesota all of the time. We were only allowed our hockey bag and a backpack. So we would pack our clothes bag and stuff it in our hockey bag. But for them, they have walk-in outfits that are likely expensive and very nice. So you just put them in a hanging suit thing, fold it up, slap it nicely in the top of your hockey bag so it's not all crumpled anywhere. And then you got your carry-on bag for sweats. And like, really, you can wear the same pair of sweats with a sweatshirt for like a week.
For a long time. Yeah, 100%.
Barring any like mustard or ketchup spills.
Got to stay away from those. Got to stay away from those, but otherwise you can make it work for a while.
To freaking Boston. That's unreal. 4 straight games going into overtime. I mean, it's sick. Courtney Kessel, look, I'm sure there's like a part of her that's like, this is so great that we are winning and it's in overtime because it's our 4th straight game that went to overtime. So we're getting points and this is great. But like, for the health of her heart, I'm sure she would just love a regulation win. You know what I mean? They're gritty wins and it's great. And these are going to pay off down the road. No doubt.
That's what I was going to say. It feels important to win this way in a regular season. It just adds so much when you get to those really tight games in the postseason.
100%. Every point matters. And I don't know if there is like any other team. I can't honestly say that there's any other team in the league, like dating back to even last season, that is like more comfortable playing in tight games like this than Boston. I feel like they just thrive on this. They're like, overtime? Sweet. Let's order some pizza. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Man, but they've just got such a recipe for being so good in these close games. They play so tight defensively. They've got awesome goaltending. They are a team that's built to play in these really close games.
Huge. And you know what it is? It's their depth. Because on a long road trip like this, Birch didn't have to ride her big players. She was just totally comfortable rolling her lines, spreading out the ice time. And because of that, you know, their team's going to be naturally tired because they're traveling so much. They don't have their own bed. They're not eating their regular food. They're kind of out of rhythm, whatever. Now, Hillary Knight, Hannah Bilka aren't playing 28 to 30 minutes a night. Do you know what I mean? They're playing the right amount and everyone's contributing and buying in and they're still getting W's.
Yeah. Speaking of that depth, like Sydney Morin, 2-goal game, OT
Love
winner
that.
was an absolute beauty for the double dip there. Just exactly what you were talking about with the depth chipping in and being really effective.
And that's it. And when they need their players to step up and score, I feel like it's finally happening. There was a goal where at first I thought it was a good goal by Hannah Bilka when it went off of her skate. But then the more you watch the replay, there's a certain angle that I was like, oh, no. That one cannot count. And they got it right, which was nice. I do want to point out too that Victoria Bach, you've officially entered this chat. And I'm not saying that she didn't play well since arriving in Ottawa. I found that the second she landed in Ottawa and put on a charge jersey, pun intended, she was charged up. It was like, oh gosh, you're hearing Victoria's name a lot more. She's creating a lot more plays. It was the Victoria we were used to seeing or wanted to see all the time in Toronto. We saw spurts of it sometimes when she was there. But for whatever reason, whatever Carla McLeod's feeding these kids before games, Victoria Bach's having seconds because it's coming off great. She scored a goal in this one, went off of her, but I don't even care. It was her being in the right position, and the fact that it was assisted by Jocelyn the Rock made it even better.
100%.
It was just a great game by her. She had another opportunity where she almost threw it short side high. It went off the crossbar. I was just like, oh my gosh. And her and even Danielle Serdachny kind of look like they're having more fun out there, if that makes sense. And I think that's when players play their best, is when they're having fun. So yeah, just a couple players that stood out to us. Sydney Morin, props to you. Those 2 goals. And Victoria Bach, way to go. Nice to see you playing the hockey that we know you can all play.
Yeah,
both
when
goalies
she
were
got
solid
traded
too, Julia. You pointed out that both goalies were solid in this one.
Yeah, this one was a duel. Shout out to Gwyneth Phillips, still looking for her first PWHL win, but she did pretty much everything she could to earn it in this one. She was very good. I remember Troy Ryan saying when Victoria Bach got traded, she's a player meant to play in the top 6. There just wasn't room in Toronto for her to play in that top 6. But man, to your point, she had so much jump in her step in the game over the weekend. A little bit of PP time, I think, too. Just really nice to see her flourish. She seems like the kind of player that would flourish under Carla McLeod, and that's what we've seen so far.
Absolutely.
Another goalie duel, Tessa. Toronto, New York on Sunday afternoon. The first ever PWHL regulation game to end 0-0 after 60 minutes of play. It did happen last year in the playoffs, but it was the first time that it happened in the regular season. This game came with some controversy, an absolute beauty of an overtime winner from Jesse Eldridge. The goal itself was absolutely jaw-dropping. The shot was amazing. We'll get to the controversy in a second. Thoughts on the game as a whole, and the way these two teams and 2 goalies too held this thing at goose eggs for 60 minutes?
I'm happy to see Kristen Campbell play the way she did. I was like, oh good, Soupy's back in it. Let's see what happens here. And I was like, great. There's her confidence. It felt like last game she just needed to get a game under her belt to really be tight, get back to in-game play. But Toronto as a team, even though they lost this game, they still got a point out, which is great. They are I said this last episode, but they are right there. They're on the precipice of truly turning this corner, and it's going to be an 18-wheeler going downhill, and everybody better watch out because they had way more chances than New York. They played so great. There were a couple hiccups here and there, but they recovered well. Overall, I just thought they were the better team in this one. And every period that went by, every minute that went by in the third period, I was like, man, this is dangerous. They're entering dangerous territory. New York can get a quick one here. They're that kind of team. They're just opportunistic. And, it gets sent to overtime. And I was like, okay, overtime, let's see it. You guys got to come out popping. Listen, there was only 1 shot on net recorded in overtime. 1. Julia, 1.
Yeah.
They had multiple chances and never hit the net. So this is going back to for whatever reason, Toronto has literally no finish. I don't know what's going on. I feel like they just need an ugly goal to go in. But Renata Fast was on a breakaway, shot it wide. Daryl Watts came across, had a nice shot, went wide, got the rebound, shot it on the side of the net instead of in. It was what is going on here? And it's like I said, they just need a gritty, dirty goal to get in there. And then all of a sudden this team's going to be cooking and everybody needs to watch out because now, believe it, every single player every single player, the ones that are playing 30 minutes, the ones that are playing 4 minutes, they are all pissed off and frustrated, and they are hungrier than ever. So the second that this starts going right, Toronto is going to be a major problem in this league, IMO, because not only do they have Soupy feeling confident, but they got Reagan Kirk that knows that she can play in this league and wants that starting position. So if she gets a chance to get back between the pipes, she's going to be doing everything she can to stay there. So they've got 2 hungry goalies and a team that is like royally pissed. And once they get that win, and it's going to be a gritty, grind out win when they finally get it, this team's taken off.
Yeah. And again, we saw that last season right before they went on that 11-game heater. I feel that frustration from this Toronto team too, as long as they're able to channel it effectively. To your point, like it feels like as soon as this team gets one to drop, they're going to just start rolling.
Totally.
Okay.
Eldridge, her goal was filthy. It was the grossest goal I've ever seen. And like, I feel like the celebration didn't match. She was like, oh, hee hee. You know, like, yay.
Did she know she was a little bit offside? Is that why she was expecting the whistle to blow maybe?
Don't even know. If I scored like that, I'd be doing like this. I'd run and slide on my belly and start swimming through center ice. That was glorious. You want to touch on the outside things? Because there's a couple things to get to with that. I don't want to say I want to pop off, but I'm going to pop off a little bit about it.
We love it.
So everyone's wondering, I know Bar Down sent a post, this call was a good goal. Was it the right call? Yes, it was, because it was a missed call, albeit it was missed, a very big miss. But the league does not allow for offside review. And I am here for this, and I do not even want them to open that door a little bit of a crack. I wanted to swear there, and I didn't, Julia. Don't effing open that door, because there is nothing more frustrating and annoying than watching an NHL hockey game where all people want is goals, and there's a 3.5 to 5 minute review for an offside that was like half a centimeter that no one in their right mind could see by the naked eye if you are a human being. Then the goal gets called back because of it, because they get a slow-mo, narrowed in, whatever kind of view. And it's like, this is dumb. This is so stupid. Stop it. Like, that's not what this rule was put in for. It was for the Matt Duchene moment, which is now in the PWHL, we can call the Jesse Eldridge moment, to get rid of these glaring mistakes. And unfortunately, it's brought the game down and back. I know for a fact the league did ask around to a bunch of different people and a bunch of different rankings of people, and they said, don't even open that door. Do not go there. It is not worth it. So I think they made the right choice, because I agree with it. It was an egregious offside, yes, and it was simply human error. I'm not sure what was going on with that liney, but they were definitely at the blue line. You could see them on the right side of the screen if you were watching the game. It was a big one. Listen, we're all human. We all make mistakes. Unfortunately for that liney, it was on national TV, and we all care about this team in these games. So we're all fired up about it. But listen, thankfully, this was a regular season game and not like a game 5 in the playoffs. Lesson learned. Do you know what I mean? Although this could technically impact playoffs.
I feel for the lines person too, because obviously the officials on the ice knew right away that they had made a little bit of a mistake, because there was a lengthy amount of time where they were like, can we review this? And the rule in the league is no, there is no reviews on offsides. Which is interesting based on like and it might have been like karma. It might have been justice from the hockey gods in the universe test, because I thought that in the third period when New York had that goal called back, I think I thought that one maybe could have counted. So maybe it was from the universe.
And that's just it. That's how the cookie crumbles, right? And like, people could be like, oh, Toronto got ripped off, whatever. Actually, with the review thing, a lot of people thought the referees went to review it and still got it wrong, but that wasn't the case. They were just going to ask if they, in fact, were allowed to review it. And everybody needs to remember.
And that's, I think, where I fall, Tess, is I wish that there was a way. It's so unfortunate that once you open the can of worms with reviews, like there's no way that you could even, I wish that there was a happy medium, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because that one, clearly everybody on the ice knew was a mistake. Like, is there a way that we could review the really egregious ones and not review the centimeter by centimeter, millimeter ones? Like, it's just unfortunate that there's no happy medium we could find there.
Yeah, but you can't, right? Because how do you say, oh, well, it has to be 2 feet offside in order for us to, you can't. It's just, we're trusting humans, which I'm okay with, and we're going to go with it. The other thing too, you need to remember is like the league plays in a variety of different venues that have like different review technology capabilities. So
Totally.
they kind of have to keep it consistent as well, which I am thankful for, obviously, because clearly I detest the offside review. It's just sad that, we got another Matt Duchene moment with Jesse Eldredge, albeit like we got a sick goal out of it.
Yeah,
and both teams got points. So whatever, carrying on.
Yeah, exactly. Human error happens. I guess it's the nature of the beast when you're playing in a game as fast as hockey, and the PWHL has opted to trade off that you can get these human errors sometimes and avoid.
And look, I say whatever
reviews.
carrying on as I sit in my basement on this comfy chair, but I know Toronto's reeling right now, so I'm not taking anything away from their sadness because they put it all on the line out there. They just couldn't finish and get themselves a guaranteed win, unfortunately. All right, let's go to the next one.
Montreal, Minnesota. This one from Denver. All-time attendance record for a professional women's hockey game in the USA. Shattered. 14,018 people showed up at Bell Arena. They were chanting, "We want a team, we want a team, we want a team." Absolutely love to hear it. Before we start on the game, I have to shout out the Minnesota Frost walk-in fits. I love the vintage ski outfits. I have to also call out Montreal. You guys better have something good in store for Quebec City. I know that they've been on the road for a long time, so they didn't probably have enough room to pack fun walk-in fits. So I totally feel you on that.
But look what Boston did in Seattle. They managed to pull it off.
To me, that felt like they might have placed an Amazon order to the hotel, which I also really respect. But that's just on the way that they all still smelled like plastic.
Someone on that
maybe
team
they
is
found
organized.
them in Seattle.
Oh yeah, perhaps.
Hillary Knight had a hilarious TikTok video because she placed the order for the fish that they all had.
Oh yeah.
And she was expecting them to be full size fish.
It
And
was
they
a minnow.
came in
It was a
minnow, little
Yeah.
go fish. So clearly there was Amazon orders placed. I did like to see Kath Dubois and Anne-Renee Desbiens, the two Quebecois players on the team, coming
Love
and rocking
that.
some Nordique stuff.
Nordiques.
Maybe it was a little sneak peek for Quebec City next weekend. We'll be there.
There's going to be a ton. I should bust out. I had an old Nordiques toque. I don't know what I did with it. I'm going to be looking all day today. That's all.
That's
I'm
one of your
be doing for the
faves,
rest of
right?
the
Because
day.
I remember when we were in Seattle a couple weeks ago, you were fired up to see all the Nordique stuff. I don't know why there was so much Nordique stuff in Seattle, but there was.
Yeah, there was a guy, I felt really bad. He walked out of the men's washroom and I ran up and gave him, I was like, high five, I love your jersey. He was like, I just went pee. Don't high five me,
He's got some moist hands. He's like, please, lady,
he didn't
leave
high
me
five me. I
alone.
ended up giving him a tap on the chest. He was just gave me this side eye. I was like, I really like your jersey. It's something about it's the color, it's the logo, Sakic. I don't know.
Something about nostalgia adds to a jersey too, I think too.
100%, because when you remember it, you remember it. And it's like Hartford a little bit, the Whalers jersey. There's some, maybe that's why, remember I said, I think that's why I really liked Boston's coming out of the gate.
Yeah.
Brought me back to
I'm
them
that way
good old
about
days.
the Minnesota North Stars too.
Yes.
There's some PHF
This color
teams
green
that
a
I
little bit
feel that way
more.
about. Yeah.
Anyways.
It's
Yeah.
nice.
But this
I
game
was sad-
also was a good one.
Yeah, I was sad Nicole Hensley couldn't start. She's still nursing that minor injury. She sustained in warm-ups. Obviously, Colorado local. Very cool to see her take the ceremonial puck drop, though. I thought
Has
was
that
nice.
happened before? Because I like that. I thought it
know.
was hilarious.
Yeah, I thought it was a really nice way to get her involved because obviously the whole crowd was so proud of her. She was the only local between the two teams, so I thought it was really nice that she got a nod.
Heck yeah. I had two friends that were at this game actually, that I went to Ohio State with, Jill Mauk and Olivia Antognoli, and they were both there, their kids having a grand old time. And when they left, they were literally like, that was so awesome. And how do we make sure that Denver gets a team? I'm like, this is amazing feedback. They didn't just go to the game and have a good time. Do you know what I mean? It was they chanted, "We want a team," and those fans meant it. She was like, what do I need to do? Is there a board I can get on? How do we make sure that we get a team here? And I was like, this is so rad.
Yeah,
I dig that.
wicked.
And I love Denver. So I was like, I don't know, you need to figure that out, but get on it because I want to be going to Denver.
Yeah, let us know. I love that city.
In terms of this game, there were certain goals that I was like, this is what I'm talking about right here. Kath Dubois'
It
goal
feels like
was,
the girls turn it up at these showcase games. I know that they're not
I
showcase games
know.
really, but it's like showcasing themselves to a new market. The sickest goals, think about that Poulin goal from her stomach in Vancouver. Like Cava's goal was insane that she got in this game. Dubois' goal was a really nice play too from, who passed her that
Greg.
puck? Greg? Yeah, awesome play.
So it was great play by Greg. Look, she's a big body coming down, barreling with speed. I get it, but it was a defensive lapse on Minnesota. So Dara Gregg was ripping up the side of the boards. If you're watching TV, it was on the top side of your screen. There was a back checker coming back on her from Minnesota, and the defenseman, she was almost hip to hip, the back checker with Dara. The defenseman went to go step up. The defender, excuse me, almost went to go step up and missed the puck and the hit. Okay, so that's first no for Minnesota. And then usually the back checker creates like a back pressure, if you will, to force that player to either into certain space or to make a play to dump it. And Dara made a beautiful chip and avoided that defender. Now, usually that forward would continue back checking on Dara, but she didn't. She stopped, and then she put her feet in the train tracks and didn't take another stride towards the net at all. So Dara's got now a full head of steam going to retrieve the puck down in the goal line, by the goal line. And then the poor defenseman who was left in front, I forget who it was, I'm drawing a blank, having a massive brain fart right now. She's like, sweet, I've got a 3-on-1 here with a play down low and a player coming in hot, and two of my players that are in train tracks with two hands on their sticks watching this play happen. I was like, no, there's no way Ken Klee is going to let this play slip. That is going to be in every video session until they get it right. Now, look, I'm being very hard on them, but this is just a very common, simple play that Minnesota should never have let happen. And I only say this because I hold Minnesota at such a high level because they are defending champs, and I know how tight Ken Klee is on teaching these things and how fun he makes his team in order, like on the ice, in order to get this stuff across. But beauty goal, nonetheless, not taking that away from Kath Dubois. She got all of that pass. Like that was like on her stick in the net. Like there was no in between. You know what I mean? Like it touched her stick and then it touched the back of the net. It was beauty.
Yeah, that was an absolute beauty.
And then not to be outdone, Minnesota was like, all right, we effed up. Let's get this thing back. Taylor Heisey, take the draw. Let's run a face-off play.
Your favorite.
I love face-off plays. If I ever coach football, I'm running trick plays 97% of the time, which I don't think my kids will play football, but nonetheless. If I ever coach their hockey team, which I don't really know if I ever want to coach a little kid's hockey team, but if I do, face-off plays every face-off. From the beginning puck drop at the beginning of the game, to icings, to defensive zone. I am running face-off plays. I love this. I literally was like, yes, when she scored, because I'm like, oh, they're running a play. I wonder what this play is going to be. And it was legit the most simple play ever, and it works a lot of the time. A nice win back to someone who's got a shot. Britta Curl dropped down to a knee, played it perfectly because Tabin acted as a screen for poor Elaine Chuli. Chuli was like, hey, out of the way, hold on. And then she went to go scooch around. Puck was already in the net. Beauty. Yeah. And in this game, Julia, fellow Buckeye of mine, Sophie Jakes finally returned off the LTIR. And let me tell you, she was clearly itching to play. She had herself one hell of a game. Nice power play goal by her and an assist in this one. 2 points. She's just like, well, what's up? What's up, fam? I'm back. You ready to play? Like, what?
Yeah. She looked great coming back.
That power play that she scored on, I loved it. It was just move, shot. Everything funneled to the net. It moved up to the top, back. She tried for a shot, went back up to the top, went to the other side. That player shot, nice save by Chuli, but man, that was a juicy rebound directly into Sophie Jakes' lane that she was skating into. And can I just say how, and I obviously people are going to be like, oh, you're just showing love to a Buckeye. This ain't it. The path that she took going back to the net, after moving the puck up high, it was like perfect. The timing was perfect. The angle was perfect. And she just wired that thing right back home. It was beautiful. Another Buckeye, Jen Gardner scored. It was a bit of a fluke, but you know what? Don't care. She put the puck in the right spot.
Yeah, they don't ask how. One downside to this game, Laura Stacey.
I know. I knew you were going to
Leaves the
say
game
that.
injured, unfortunately. It looked like she got tangled up with Lee. I didn't even know what happened at first. I
I
thought
don't think
she was
anybody
having an
did.
equipment malfunction. I
Yeah.
think it happened in a little bit of a tangle up with Lee Steckline. I went back and
Mhm.
scrubbed, and that's the only place it really made sense that she got injured. Obviously, it would be really unfortunate for Montreal if she's out for any extended period of time. The team shared out that they were keeping her out for precautionary reasons, so hopefully that's a good sign.
Totally fair. And sometimes, it's literally just you tweak something either in warmups or earlier in the game, and it didn't seem like much. It was just something that happened.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you get tangled up with Steckline, and then it's just like, you know what? Am I going to hurt myself more by playing? I could probably gut this out, but am I going to do more harm? Yeah. So guess what? Pulling the plug on this one because they don't play. When does Montreal play again? They've got some time off. They don't play till Friday.
Right.
So for her,
that is
it's
a little
like,
bit of time.
and she's got Friday and then Quebec City on Sunday. So it's like game, off day, game. So for her, it's like, I got this out. I'm missing both. I can't, right? And it might not even be like they said, just precaution, maintenance stuff. Good for her for knowing her body that well and for being smart about it. That's what you kind of have to do as a pro now.
Yeah.
So
and it's a
hoping
rematch
she's
against
okay.
Minnesota on
That's
Friday
it, on
too.
Friday.
So
I
gotta be
know.
back, gotta be dialed.
There you go.
Minnesota pulls into first place with that victory, sitting atop the league.
By
too.
2
So it was a
points
big
too,
one.
right? Is it 2?
Yeah, so they've got
it's
a little bit of breathing room.
19-17.
Little
for
bit
sure.
of breathing room for them at the top, but with a rematch coming on Friday, not too much breathing room. Last thing before we get to our interview, Canada won gold at U18. So congratulations to Vicky Sanahara and Canada's U18 team. They beat USA 3-0 in the gold medal game, outshot them 30-14. What a performance by Canada's U18 national team. Chloe Moreno gets a lot of love and for good reason. She won Best Defender at the tournament for the second year in a row, finished with 26 points in 2 appearances across 2 Women's Worlds, tying Marie-Philippe Poulin for the most by a Canadian at U18s. Is that good, Tessa, for a defenseman? I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, and look, it's blatantly obvious. It's hard for players like Poulin and Chloe who are far more developed and skilled than other players, which I'm not knocking any players. These are just outliers, these kids. It's hard to not try and put the team on your back and just go and do it yourself at these tournaments. And I felt like Chloe was doing that at the beginning, which is fine because like, how are you not tempted? Do you know what I mean? You got
If
the
you can.
juice, you can do it. But that's not the point of being a leader and being on this under 18 team, right? It's the full team effort and knowing Vicky Sanahara. I know, I feel like there was some talks out there that maybe people felt Vicky didn't necessarily pick the best players to be on this team, but I don't think, just like the World Juniors, I don't think that's the point. I think obviously the World Juniors this year clearly picked all of the wrong players, but nonetheless.
I'm laughing because I'm like, maybe the country was just sensitive after what happened at the World Juniors.
Yeah, but no, it was a thing. And I'm sure Vicky heard about it. Regardless, Vicky picked the right team. And this team wasn't your glitz and glam team. This is the team that was going to outwork you and grind you into the ground and get wins. And I like that. And it was like, she got that entire room to buy in to what she was teaching and what she wanted them to do. And they blanked USA 3-0 in the final. Now look, Chloe Moreno, that was her first game, I'm pretty sure, at the under 18s where she didn't get a point. And that was the best game she played all tournament. Why?
Yeah.
Because she bought in and she played the full team game and her team won 3-0. And ask Chloe if she cares if she got no points in the final. Don't think she gives a shit. That girl's got a gold medal hanging around her neck and she's happy with it. Vicky Sanahara, I can tell you this, that woman does not cry. She cried at the end of that game. And I was like, what? That was an emotional win for Vicky. I don't know if it's because she's got 2 sons that are around the same age of all these kids, or if it was because she was getting some flack for maybe not taking the right players. Clearly she did. Or if it was just how proud she was of the team that she picked and the effort that they put forth and the way that they were able to win and the way they went about it. Because there was a game that they won 17-0, so players got to pad their stats and stuff like that. But for the most part, in the end, that final game, that team played the right way. And shout out to Vicky. That was all you, girlfriend. That was coaching. She's inducted into the IIHF Hall of Fame this year, and for good reason. I can't wait for her to get it in the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's going to be one hell of a celebration. But right now, that was a fantastic coaching job by a former teammate of mine. She made adjustments the right way. And I'm just super proud of her. Congrats. And let me tell you, that US team, they've got a ton of talent, like a lot of skill, young skilled players on this team. It's going to be cool to see how both of these groups kind of evolve and make their way into the national team program. Probably quicker on the US side, because as we know, the Americans like to bring in a lot of young players with a lot of pop and pizzazz, whereas the Canadians like to, mold them a little bit more and get them more experience before they even allow them to get a sniff in the lineup. But it'll be pretty cool to see how both of these teams, all of these players kind of grow and make their way up until the national level.
Anela Lapushanova gets MVP again at the tournament. Second year in a row. First time back-to-back MVP at the U18 Women's Worlds. And Tessa, she has another year of freaking eligibility.
Yeah, I don't even know if she needs to go again. I'm just going to say that. It's fine. You can have her go. This kid is such a unicorn. I can't wait to watch her play in the NCAA. And I say that knowing that she's going to Wisconsin. She's already a problem. And then under the direction of Mark Johnson, who's a fantastic coach, he really cares about the person too. So he's going to make sure that confidence-wise, she's there all around. But he also demands work ethic, and he demands his teams to buy in to the overall picture, not just he's very much a we guy, not a me guy, which is why he's so successful. I'm interested in watching this kid go and grow, because there needs to be more coming up behind her as far as I'm concerned. Let's get some more of these players from Slovakia up. Let's get their team cooking. Let's get them a goalie. I don't know. Is there any Canadians out there with dual passports? Americans? Don't know. But I like what I'm seeing, and it's going to be entertaining to watch this kid. And then we got to wait how long to get her in the P-dub. My goodness, I'm going to be like 90, feels like, at this rate.
Yeah, it does feel like it's going to be a long time. But congratulations, Team Canada. Congratulations, Nella. Great tournament at the U18s this year. Nice to see Canada and the US in the gold medal game again at that tournament.
Totes my goats.
Okay, time for our interview this week, presented by Bravado Designs, official bra partner of the PWHL, offering an understated, uncomplicated collection of intimate apparel that makes you feel beautiful, uplifted, and confident underneath it all.
Bravado, supporting the ladies while supporting our ladies.
Bravado, you guys are the best. This one is from this past weekend at CCM Hockey House in Montreal. We had the opportunity to sit down with one of the game's all-time greats. I know that our listeners really enjoy getting the throwback interviews every once in a while to reflect on a career of someone who's not a current PWHL player and someone who made a lot of change in women's hockey, but didn't kind of get to enjoy the fruits of having a regular league to play in. And I would say that this person falls under that category, Tessa.
100% living legend in the game. There is no player that is loved by everyone that she's played against. There is no other player other than Julie Chu.
Here she is on the Jocks and Jills podcast. All right, everyone. Welcome to Montreal. Welcome to CCM Hockey House. Julia and Tessa with you. Today we are joined by one of the true legends of this game. Feels a little bit funny to talk to her in Montreal. I know she's based here in Montreal now, but one of the greatest Americans to ever lace them up. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Julie Chu. Woo, 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 woo.
I think I'm blushing now.
It looks like we're blushing. It's because we were just outside. What was it, like -17 out there, ripping around?
Who knows?
No big deal. Chewy and my team may or may not have won the Hockey House Championship. So
is that what it was?
We're coming off a big win. I don't know. That's what we're calling it.
I
Did
think
it feel
so.
like that?
I did. I brought a cup as well. I think it's waiting for us after this.
Nice.
Some champagne, some bubbly. We're getting it going after this in Montreal. Watch out. On our podcast, we like to start from the beginning of where, players kind of find hockey and fall in love with hockey. But I kind of want to go further back than that, because your story is truly unique. The first Asian American player to represent USA, which is huge. But how you became that, and the fact that your father, was born in China, moved to Hong Kong, then traveled all the way over to the US. I don't want to tell the whole story because it is wild. And I don't want you to be humble or shy about it, just honest about how truly amazing it is that you are sitting here and you have all of those accolades under your belt thanks to your mom and your dad.
Yeah. And, I think for me, I was really lucky because I kind of was shielded from all the struggles that they had, maybe growing up. Again, as my dad was born in China, moved to Hong Kong, as you said, and then came over to the States when he was 16 years old. And that's where he met my mom. And they were really poor. And so kind of a true immigrant story of trying to just get by. And my grandmother was a single mother of 3 and did everything she could to make sure that she provided for her 3 kids. And education was important to them. Family was important to them. Work ethic and all those things that then was instilled in my dad and then passed on to the rest of our family.
But you're skipping over where did your dad live when he moved to New York with his family? Like that, those were tight quarters.
Yeah. So they lived in, like a 1-bedroom apartment with, other families. So really they had, they shared, a bed on the floor. They shared bunk beds, all these different things. So it's really a challenge if you think about the journey that they had. And I remember my dad would tell a story about, the exciting part of his birthday was getting, a chicken wing as like his meal. My dad likes to eat just like the rest of us. So
yeah.
I'll be honest. Like if I got a chicken wing now, I'd be pretty pumped too.
I'd be stoked too.
Yeah.
For me?
Yeah. Oh, I'll take it. Sure.
But
so I think like that, it's awesome. It really grounds me. But those are the stories I actually didn't know growing up because it was as we got older and we asked more questions and, random stories came up and then we understood what it was like. And even like, his story of going to Cornell and getting a scholarship there at one point and how he was a dishwasher. That's how he made things work. And
at a fraternity, right?
Yeah, at a fraternity. And so
that's where he got his meals.
That's it. He got to eat after everyone else ate. And every so often they'd get an extra piece of meat to bring home and like cook in the slow cooker and not slow cooker, but the rice cooker at the time. And so I think all those things are just part of his journey. And it wasn't something that was forefront for us, but we saw it in the way he lived his life. He lives his life and same thing with my parents. And it's pretty cool.
So Tess has been hyping up how your parents met. She says it's a love story for the ages. I want to hear it from you. I have no tip-offs.
Well, again, like my dad came over to the States. He lived in Chinatown, didn't have a lot of money. So the only way that they had resources to do anything was to go to church and have church groups. So they actually met at a church group in their teenage years and, each other's first loves. And my dad told the story of how one of their first dates was going to Central Park to actually get a chance to skate on the rink. And my parents can't skate. Like they're not very good at this. And I haven't seen my dad skate once maybe. But the way he got the heart of my mom was that he found a way to fall and rip his pants. So
stop.
Yeah. And not only that is then he had to like walk the whole day with his pants ripped and then go on the subway back home with that. So, it's true. It's definitely true love because my mom's still there and they're coming up on their 50th anniversary now.
No way.
Yeah, in June. So we're pretty pumped for that.
Wow. Relationship goals.
Seriously.
That's huge. Your dad must be just a legend. Like what game? Like I got this. I'm just going to rip my pants. Maybe he wore his best underwear that day.
I can only hope, and I don't want to think about that. Let's be honest. No, now I'm like really not in a good place here.
I know. That's too much information. You're thinking about the story too hard. I was going to throw, was he wearing underwear? But I think that's too far in the story.
That you just made it worse, actually.
So then you talk about like your parents not knowing how to skate at all and your dad ripping his pants and trying to do so. So then how the heck did Julie Chu get into hockey? Were your siblings into it too? Or was it just you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I grew up in Connecticut. So I think the sport that young girls played at the time was soccer. It was something you did in your elementary school. You had town teams. So all of us went into soccer. And then one day my brother came home. I have an older brother, Richard, a sister, Christina. It's a middle child, and then myself. So about 4 years between us. And he came home and just asked if he can play hockey because he had friends that played. And on our spectrum of understanding hockey, it was non-existent, right? At the time, there was the Hartford Whalers, you had the New York Rangers. So our family knew about that, but we didn't know hockey. And so my parents were like, okay, let's see what this is about. Went to the local rink in Wonderland of Ice in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and signed my brother up for hockey. And so my sister and I, the stereotypical figure skating.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's why you're a good skater, though, I feel.
Yeah, it only lasted 2 months and I was terrible.
Never mind.
But I appreciate this. Keep coming with the compliments.
You're welcome. You mentioned soccer. How tall are you right now?
I'm 5'8".
You're 5'8". How tall were you when you were like 10, 11?
Embarrassing, probably almost 5'8". I was
You were
a
an
giant.
early sprouter, eh?
She sprouted early.
Yeah.
In soccer, I heard that there were moments where you looked like your parents like forged your birth certificate.
Probably, yes, absolutely. So for some laughs sometimes, the old videos come out, and when it did, I go, oh my goodness. Thank goodness I was not like a self-conscious kid, because I probably should have been at the size of me at that time. And it's
Wait, are we talking horizontal or vertical? Which direction are we talking?
horizontal, a little bit of both,
Vertical is
probably. A little bit of
awesome.
both when I was 10 years old.
Oh, being tall would have been awesome.
Yeah. And then I kept kind of like kind of getting taller. So then maybe stretched out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the 40s, and who knows what's going to happen here. But
There could still be one more growth spurt here.
yeah,
You never know.
I'm really hoping, and that's only vertical. Let's hope for this. But yeah, I was quite a tall person, and I can't imagine what other parents or kids thought.
That's hilarious. So your parents weren't into it. Or I shouldn't say weren't into it. They didn't understand or know the sport well. So then who was your mentor then? Who was the person that truly helped get you, dialed into hockey and developing the right way?
Yeah, I don't know if there's actually just one person, to be honest, for me, because I wanted to do what my big brother did. So for sure, I started playing hockey, and because of him. And it's pretty cool because that was the great thing about my parents. They weren't about restricting us. And although they didn't have girls playing hockey, this was back in 1990. And our family didn't have a basis in hockey. When I eventually asked if I can switch over to hockey, instead of saying no, they were kind of like, all right, let's figure this out. So I'll put you in stinky hockey equipment and see if you like it. And I did. So it was kind of from there, the moment that they knew I found something that I would enjoy. And I think that's what allowed me to then develop and find my love for hockey, is because I was surrounded by people that just let me find the sport and enjoy the sport, not with the purpose of making a high school team, a university team, going to the Olympics, because one, we had no notion any of those things existed.
Yeah.
It was just, this is 10 minutes from our house at our local rink, and here's a learn to play. And from there, can I make a local boys team one day? So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. What did minor hockey look like for you? Was it playing with boys? Was there a mixed team? Were there any other girls you got to play with ever?
Yeah, to start off with, it was just a boys team. And again, I think we're environments, and I'm a people person. I don't know. I love that. And I'm a big team person. And I think environments really help and shape us. And so for me, getting a chance to be the only girl playing in the organization until my sister switched over. So the two of us, those are the only two girls we'd see for an entire year. Right. And it was really cool, though, that we were welcomed within that community and our organization. And I never felt anything negative. But if anything, I felt negative from parents on other teams.
Yeah.
That was like the weirdest thing. Like, it wasn't the kids. Occasionally they'd sneeze because of my name, Chu. That's kind of funny, though. You're like, Chu. But
Give me that one.
That was the dig?
Yeah, that was the dig. So we're 8 years old. We're like 8, 10 years old, right? That's our dig at that point.
Yeah.
But maybe parents were a little bit more. But I got pretty shielded from that in a lot of ways, though.
It's unfortunate how parents can kind of ruin a game that the kids are just trying to fall in love with and play. And I say play, like not play with a purpose, but just play. Go be kids and play. That's the best part about growing up and playing hockey that I remember, was just being out there with your pals and just playing a game that made you happy and that you loved.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Were you always a strong student, like through high school and everything? You were like dialed into schoolwork. Was that something that your dad then passed on to you as well?
Yeah, and I think my parents, just growing up from elementary school on, and not that they were always saying, hey, you need to have straight A's or anything like that. They just said, we want all of our 3 kids to work as hard as they can. So you come home from school, do your homework, then go off to your activities. And for sure, there's times where your activities came first, and then you're trying to pound out your homework later at night and cramming. That's probably why I was a bit of a procrastinator at times in that part of school. But no, I also took a lot of pride in it, though. I think when our family kind of made it an important thing to just try our best in it, whatever it looked like. And then, yes, we have some success within it, that I think there's pride in it. So it's something I became, when I put my mind to something, like I wanted to do well in it, whether it was hockey, whether it was my academic side of things, and then becoming a student athlete just became kind of innate in who we were. So when you kind of grow up and continue to do that, people are like, oh, is it hard to be a student athlete? I was like, I've actually only known how to be a student athlete. Although, like, when you're in elementary school, can you really kind of call yourself
Yeah.
a student athlete?
Right. Yeah.
No, but I gotta
Definitely.
go ahead and say, back in elementary school when I was a student athlete.
Started when I was 6.
Kickball was tough. Recess was hard.
Dodgeball? Yee.
Okay, well, all the recess and the dodgeball went very well. You ended up going to Harvard. We always like on this podcast to find out who lost out, what schools lost out on the sweepstakes of any individual player.
Yep.
Is this really what happens here? I don't know.
It
We'd
is.
love to know.
It is.
What other schools were sniffing around when you ultimately decided to go to Harvard?
At the time, there were some of the Midwest schools now that are pretty dominant, we'll just say. But coming along, they were pretty young in their time frame. We're interested in seeing if I'd come out into the Midwest to play. But for myself, I knew I wanted to stay in New England. I grew up in Connecticut, so I wanted to stay at least within a drive of my family. I didn't necessarily need to be in the same state. And then I knew just academically, I did want to go to an Ivy League school. So I was looking at the Ivy League schools, between Dartmouth, Harvard, Brown, and Princeton. Those were the ones.
No biggie.
Casual.
Just, yeah. But of course, why wouldn't be those schools that someone was looking at? All of those schools.
My God. I remember I got a letter from Princeton when I was in grade 9 and I was like, this is so cool, but never. Nope.
Right away, you knew that? Even when you were in grade 9?
Yes, Julia.
I don't know.
Of course
I don't know
I
about your
knew.
academic tendencies in the 9th grade.
There were no tendencies in the academics. I went to Ohio State.
It's going to be so funny when Annie hears all this stuff and she's playing it for you at the dinner table.
Well, we're actually trying to implement exactly what Julie's parents implemented. And I'm going to show them exactly what can happen when you do that. You can end up at Harvard and be badass and go to 4 Olympics and set records in the NCAA that took forever to get broken, by the way. But I don't know. I feel like rhyming off those schools is crazy just to be have your pick at anything, but you deserved it. And it's crazy to think too that when you probably should have been starting your collegiate career, you were like, can you guys just hold the phone for a minute? I got the Olympics to go to real quick. You were so young. What do you remember about that experience? It being on home soil, never mind the outcome, but going through that process with all of those players who technically were legends in the game, like Cami Granato.
For sure. The first time I got invited to a national team camp was in 2000. And I remember I was across from Cami Granato, actually. They dropped the puck and I was center. She was center. And I didn't even budge because I was staring at her, awestruck. And I was like, this is not going to go well.
Yeah.
Probably not going to make this team at this point, right? I got to get it together, basically. Yeah. It was really incredible because 1998 for me was transformative. Mm-hmm. And yes, the U.S. won, but it's not about the end result only. It's really about being able to see women's hockey at the Olympic stage. And I was a freshman at Choate Rosemary Hall, a prep school in Connecticut. And I remember our whole team woke up at 7 a.m. to be watching it. And I'm not a morning person, so this was big for me. And Angela Ruggiero is actually a senior at our school that year as well, or had gone to our school. So we basically had a president's holiday, headmaster's holiday to take the day off so everyone could watch it.
No way.
So it was pretty exciting, pretty fun. And that moment for me was maybe one day I'll get a chance to be there. But honestly, you feel so far from it. Yeah. When you're watching people on TV, you're like, they can't be normal. They can't be like me. And suddenly you meet them and Cami Granato is a legend in herself. And you look at her accolades, and the thing I was most not even surprised, but just in awe of was how humble she is, how kind she is, what an incredible leader. And I think in a lot of ways, I tried to mimic who I am and how I lead after what she showed me as a young player coming in, and she was a veteran on the team.
So you said those Olympics were transformative for you. When did your dad make you a promise about a tattoo? Can you tell that story? It was totally unprovoked?
Yeah, absolutely unprovoked. So it was my sister that, I think she was 16 at some point, and she was like, Dad, I want a tattoo. And Mom and Dad, I want a tattoo. And they're like, absolutely not, never. And that's a little bit of a conservative, Asian family. Okay. And no one really had tattoos. And then finally, my sister kept poking. He said, okay, when you're 18, you can get a tattoo. So she's 2 years older than me. When she's 18, she got a tattoo. And then suddenly, as we were coming up to Olympics and it looked like I might make the team, and I was within their residency program in 2000, 2001. I was really lucky we had that program. They had a full-time program in Lake Placid, and I was living the life as this senior in high school that was taking classes at 8 at night with a tutor in Northwood School, training all day long and loving every minute of it. And with that year allowed me to learn how to be an elite athlete, how to train, how to develop. But I remember like, as we started to say, hey, like I'm kind of coming along a little bit here and maybe I have a shot at the 2002 Olympics. My dad just suddenly said, hey, if you ever make it, I'm going to get a tattoo like right here on my arm. Like if anything, like on my bicep, like yeah. And I honestly was
How
like,
were the pipes looking back then?
I'm not going to answer that right now. Like he might actually listen to this. I can't say it.
Your poor dad, he's getting dragged on this show, all his stories.
No, but the best one. The best part is I go, yeah, okay, like you're joking. He goes, no, I'm serious. And when someone suddenly switches and they give you that serious look, and I was like, okay, cool.
He was giving you the extra push to make the team.
Yeah,
he was.
Just
that was
something.
it.
That was the thing. So when I finally made the team and they announced the final roster, I saw him and I'm next to him. He goes, ow, 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 and he starts to move his arm, and I was like, what's up, Dad? Are you okay? And he goes, oh yeah, I'm just getting ready for my tattoo. And I was like, oh, he's going to go through with it. Like, this is pretty cool.
Sick.
And then my mom also, and my brother and my sister, they all kind of came around and did it. So we got the Olympic rings and they added number 13, my number, just to make it a part of the family. But they actually got it before the Olympics. And as we know, until you play in a game, you're not actually an Olympian.
Yeah.
So I kind of freaked me out, I'll be honest. So I was like bubble wrapping myself to make sure, because otherwise that's a bad tattoo.
This is a bad omen.
That's a bad tattoo
Did
right
you sign
there.
off on it? Like, did you know that they were going early?
Yeah, but I knew
couldn't
that they
stop
were.
them.
Yeah, it's okay. Like I don't really believe in bad omens, but at the same time, I was like, that would be a real bad story if anything happened.
Yeah. You mentioned, I got to talk about this just because of where we are right now and how, women's hockey has evolved. And I feel like everyone remembers 2017 when the negotiations were happening between the U.S. team and USA Hockey. But the push actually started before that. And that was actually probably in just before 2002, I want to say. Do you remember getting kicked out of Lake Placid and like what that was all about and how it went?
Yeah, that was like a little bit of my wake up to reality moment, because that was actually the residency year that I got a chance to the first time like live my dream with all these national team members, most of them out of college, complete women. And meanwhile, Chrissy Wendell, Natalie Darwitz, 2 Hall of Famers, they were with me as one of the 3 young kids out there. So suddenly we get to a contract, say in June, and some of the veterans said, "Hey, don't sign it. We're having someone look at it so that we can discuss it." And so I was like, "Okay, like I have no clue about contracts. Like I can barely fill out my name on on my like test at this point." And then so we ended up going to Lake Placid, and like we hadn't signed our contract, and then they said, "Hey, this is the deal." And I was like, "Okay," just sitting in the room listening, because I don't know anything about this, and it came really, really, really close to that program that year shutting down and not being a reality. And thankfully there were kind of concessions a bit on either side. And then we were able to move forward with that program. But that was my first real introduction, one to the national team, and then the reality of like all the things that they have to fight for, especially I say they, because I was just there. Right? I was young. But that veterans have to think about to fight for to get to where we want to go.
Want to know the coolest thing? Do you know who repped them? Do you remember who the lawyer was?
The current lawyer that in 2017 helped the U.S. team like kind of knock it out of the park.
And also helped the women's soccer team, John Langle. And now he reps the PWHLPA.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Love this guy. John, you're a good man.
You're a good man, John.
Yeah. You want to go back to Harvard, talk a little bit about the ridiculousness.
The bajillion points that you got
Yeah.
at Harvard. Yeah, it took a million years for those points. Was it points and
It
assists?
was assists and points. Yeah,
Points
you
and
had how many?
assists.
Let me look at this because I want to get this right. 284 points in your career. You graduated in 07.
Yep.
And it did not get broken until 2011. So that lived for quite some time. Like, who the heck were you playing with? Like, you were just chucking apples everywhere.
Yeah. Thankfully, I was playing with some pretty great players. My first year, I got a chance to play with Jen Bottrell.
That's not bad.
Pretty incredible person, an incredible player, won the Patty Kazmaier Award that year twice. Yeah. And before that as well. So really incredible. Angela Ruggiero was also on the team. So a lot of really talented players. And then I played a season like Sarah Vaillancourt, also another Canadian Olympian, and then Nicole Corriero. So she was a player that played at Harvard, and I'd have to see if, but she had the goals record at the time, like 60 some odd goals that she scored in a season. So you know what you do? You give the puck to her.
Yeah,
That's what you do. Yeah, I think I had 2 goals at that point, so it's fine.
You were playing forward at that time?
Yes, I was at forward.
For people that don't know,
Chewy is a very versatile player who can just own the ice, both on forward and defense. Just
When
whenever
did you
she
play
chooses.
D?
When I got to Montreal, actually, with the Canadiens, and
Oh.
actually for 2 years on the
I was
national
gonna say
team.
with the national program.
Yeah, so after 2000 or heading towards 2006, so maybe around 2004, I remember getting in like you basically at that time, there wasn't emails. You got your roster for camp, your invitation by mail. So you had your, I know. Yeah,
almost more
I
special.
just sprouted more gray
it?
hairs
Yeah.
because of that.
They
But
just-
I know. I'm
I
aging.
remember it.
I aged that, really.
Yeah.
But I remember pulling it out, and they had sent the rosters just prior to camp, and I opened it up, and I was listed at a D. And I was like, all right, well,
No
here we
explanation?
go. No explanation at that point. And then it was Ben Smith, that our coach at the time, called shortly afterwards, maybe a day or two after. He goes, hey, did you get the rosters? And I was like, yep. And he
Like,
goes, see where you're listed? I go, yep. He goes, what do you think? I go, all right, I'm going to try it. And he goes, yep, you're fine. Bye.
was it.
Basically. Yeah, he was pretty straightforward to the point. But I like the challenge. And I was a defensive forward too. I like the 200-foot game. And so I got a chance to do it. And it was okay. But then they switched me back because they realized my skating probably wasn't that great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, going backwards.
Yeah, right. It's funny because you're like, I was a defensive forward, but then when you play D, I remember being like, she's an offensive defenseman. Do you know what I mean? How does that work? Is there a spot in between, like a midfield?
That'd be nice. We should
Right?
create that.
Little rover position.
I like this.
Created
I like
by
this.
none other than Julie Chu. I was cut from the 06 team with the Canadian team, but that was like my first learning lesson, my first, moment where it's like, you're a kid, you need to learn to be a pro. Like you learned it well. You were a student. I wasn't. I was an idiot.
We love you, idiot.
Thank you. But I watched every single game of that Olympics because I wanted to try to live vicariously through the players who I trained with for months before that one. And I can't tell you how hard my jaw hit the floor when it wasn't you guys going to the finals. You earned a bronze medal nonetheless, but what went wrong in that year for the U.S. program or the team? And after, that bronze medal performance or losing and then having to play the bronze medal game, what was the messaging? What was the locker room like, amongst the ladies? That's tough.
Yeah, it was really rough. I think there's a lot of things that came into it at that point. We had just won our first world championship in 2005. And then this is now April of 2005. And then in August of 2005, that's when we have our tryouts for the Olympic team. And Cammie gets cut. Cammie Granado gets cut, Shelley Looney, 2 veteran players. So that was really a shocker in a lot of ways for myself. Again, looking up to her, like I was bawling and all those different things. And not to take away from players that were selected, right? I think that's always the hard part of considering all of this. But it was hard because there was such an aspect of leadership that then we were missing along the way. And not that we had actually any negative energy or anything. That year, we actually, team-wise, still had a good environment. But when things got tough, or how do we get ourselves to turn the corner to improve, or those little things to really poke us more.
Yeah.
We didn't necessarily have that person in the locker room that could do that. Because when you lose a veteran leader that's been a leader for a while, when we have to be held maybe accountable, then it's a little bit harder to do that. On top of that, the actual structure was really rough because we would come together for like 2 weeks and then we'd go away for 2 weeks, but we didn't have anywhere to play when we were away. So you're just finding ice at different places and different time, and then come together for 2 weeks. If we played 3 games out in Minnesota, we'd go to Minnesota, train for a week prior, and then go on our 3-game streak, and then head home for a little bit and come back. So I think a little bit of that inconsistency of structure. And I think the reason they made that choice was because we were 2 years full-time together prior to 2002. And maybe the feedback was, we were together too much. But I think then we went too little,
Right.
if that kind of makes sense.
Pendulum swung the other way.
Yeah, for sure.
It was wild to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, what was penalty shots, right? that
Yeah,
you guys
Kim
were
Martin
thinking? Yeah.
just got inducted into the IHF Hall of Fame and got
Well
a chance
deserved.
to. Oh yeah, she's so good.
And she's a cool cat.
She's awesome.
She is awesome.
She's really, really
we
fun.
should get her on the pod sometime.
Yeah, that would
You
be a
should.
good
I
get.
coached at Duluth, and honestly, like so calm, so poised, like a really, really hard worker in everything she does. So really fun. So yeah, like after losing that was a dagger.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a scramble after with tickets and everything too.
Well, the thing that must have been tough was because you're coming off of 0-2, right? Like a wild game, a loss. You guys want to avenge that. And there was a lot of you in that locker room that understood that, only to go to 2006 and be like, what is happening right now? Kind of thing, right? So you post-career, you go back to Harvard for your senior year, 07. You graduate. You're thinking, okay, there's no PWHL at that time, but you got to find somewhere to play. And then you decide to be an assistant coach, as you mentioned, at Minnesota Duluth, where you just happen to help the team win a national championship. It's like no big deal. It's just what Julie Chu does. Was coaching always the plan, like when you went to school, or did you have like a different career in mind when you decided to pick Harvard as the school that you were going to?
I always loved teaching. So I think after prep school, I loved that environment. So I was like, oh, I'd love to be like actually a teacher at prep school because I get to coach sports, I get to teach and do a little bit of that. And then when I got to college and I got a chance to see that environment, I was like, well, I don't even have to like correct papers. I can just teach hockey.
Even better.
Like I don't have to do that part of it. So then I think I always loved I was a student in the game. I love to teach. I love to do that. I'd worked camps for many years. And so I think coming out of college, like it was clear that that's something I wanted to do. And I had that opportunity and at Duluth with Shannon Miller and Carolyn Willette, my wife now. And, I was able to take advantage of that, not only to be able to go and win a national championship. That's pretty cool to be able to say. Although they kind of razzed me, the players afterwards, that I had to go there to be able to win a national championship. But, it's all right. I don't remember that. But it's fun. But I learned a lot because there are different environments. You have my Harvard experience that I absolutely loved. But that experience is really different from the experience I had at Duluth, which was really international. Really the first time that they created that international feel. And I think some people were like, oh, like that's not a good thing. But I was like, no, it was actually unbelievably cool. Like we had a ton of Finns, we had Swedes, we had a Russian player, we had, a local person from Duluth.
Yeah.
It's just a mixed bag of people from all over. And I thought that actually created a really cool culture.
Yeah. You guys were a pain in the ass to play against. I will say that. I got to play against them. And they were a melting pot of everyone from everywhere. And they were all good.
Mm-hmm.
Like Maria Root, Erica Holtz went there. I'm like, man, come on. Carolyn Willette's there. I'm like, hey, where does it lighten up?
Jocelyn LaRock was there.
Yeah. Menu Blais was there. Oh my God.
Haley Irwin,
Katie Wilson.
Yeah.
Like we could probably go on for 27 minutes
a lot
just
of really
ripping
great
off names of everyone that was hard to play against. But I don't know if you remember this, and this is like one of my favorite stories. Julia, you never got to hear this, but Julie and Caro used to drive from Minnesota Duluth to Montreal.
I'm trying to picture this route in my head. Where do you go?
Yeah. I think we went south for a while and then we kind of cut up afterwards.
Probably Sault Ste. Marie and then up to
Yeah, we
Sudbury.
went through Chicago, if I remember, and then come up. Does that make sense? Maybe I should look at a map.
Maybe they did go through Thunder Bay.
That's what I'm like trying to figure out right
Probably
now.
drove right past Thunder Bay and straight to Sudbury.
Lock the doors.
But my parents were always such huge fans of Carolyn Willette. Like Caro was basically the third daughter that they never had.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Dougie's like a big Caro fan. And so is my mom. She just adores both Julie and Caro. So Caro was like, oh, we're driving from Duluth to Montreal. Do you mind if we stop and celebrate your parents' place? So I'm like, Mom, Caro and Chewy are going to be stopping by. My mom was like, that's fantastic. I'll have dinner made, everything. So my parents were really excited, like so excited to host Julie and Caro. And my mom was eagerly awaiting. She was texting me like, where's Caro and Julie? I'm like, I don't know. I'm living elsewhere. Like, call them. So my dad calls Caro, and I'm going to mock Caro's accent here. And please know it's coming from a place of love because this is hilarious. So my dad called. He's like, Caro, hey, where are you guys? And Caro was like, we're in the garage. And my dad thinks their car broke down and they're in the garage getting their car fixed. She's like, oh no, what happened? What garage? I'll come get you. And she's like, no, I'm in your garage. They literally just pulled in and just drove into our garage.
You didn't want the car getting cold, in fairness.
No,
You just wanted that thing warm for when you were pulling out.
Absolutely.
But you guys did that more than once. And I think it's so cool. I never got to experience them visiting my house.
Yeah.
What was it? Were Doug and Deb good hosts? Like what?
Absolutely.
Was it
And it's funny
okay?
because I hadn't met your parents at that point. Like
Right.
Kao had, but I hadn't. And so she's like, yeah, we're going to stop at the, Tessa Bonham's like family's house. I go, okay, cool. And the moment we open the door, it's just warmth. That's all I can say. And
Cool.
and kind of like your personality, the same thing, like outgoing, kindness, and a lot of fun, lots of laughs right off the bat. And
Some wine flowing, I'm sure.
Yeah,
from
I was going
Doug.
to say that. Actually, a
Yeah.
beer to start, and then you go from there
Gotta open the
afterwards.
palate.
just to make sure we're ready to eat after that. But no, it was wonderful. And especially it's a long trek across. It's 16, 18 hours or so. Just to have a place to just call home for a little bit and be that welcomed. And especially I felt like I'd known them for a long time and it was my first time meeting them.
That's cool. I never knew that. I thought you had met my parents before. Ever.
Not really, because now we're 2007, 2008. It was earlier. So it was one of the first times.
That's wild. I didn't even realize that was the case.
And if I met them before and they say that, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yeah. No, they would have reminded you. Absolutely. Doug and Deb, don't forget. So you leave your post with the Bulldogs, right? And then 2010's coming up. So you guys this year did have like a central training camp, right? You guys were down in somewhere awesome. I feel like you were somewhere warm. You guys were training. Was that year?
No, I missed. That was 2018.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Rubbing that right in.
Yep. No, we were in balmy Minnesota.
Oh, you were. It was Blaine, right?
Blaine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Blaine. The Schwan?
Yeah.
I love that rank.
Look at Julia with the Blaine
really
knowledge.
Because I'm from Thunder Bay. That's where I played all my
the super
fun
rink
times.
there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What is there, like 8 pads? It's a good rank.
Anyways,
Yeah. It's
Typical
crazy.
Minnesota.
So Minnesota.
Very
It's
Minnesota.
like the epitome of Minnesota.
So you decide, all right, I won a national championship, Bulldogs. I'm out of here. I'm going to go try and win an Olympic gold medal. Look, I know what Canada's mindset was going into that Olympics. We had all of the confidence. I'm sure it was really annoying on your part. I felt like we had all the swagger. You were led by a great coach in Mark Johnson. What was your team's mindset heading into 2010? Because it was on Canadian soil, and we had won gold on your soil. So was that kind of like the mantra of the team? Like, let's a little bit of payback here, and don't be nice. Be honest.
I think for us, it was just going and battling, getting a chance to go into that Olympics, knowing that it's actually really close to all our family and friends, and get even more pumped. We just wanted to go and we wanted to battle and we wanted to set a tone early on. So, like in 2002, they kind of paid us a little, unkind memory of winning gold there. So maybe in the back of our minds, we had that to reverse that fate for us. But I think it was just coming in like any time. And maybe that's my mindset too. I just try to think of what's this team here and what do we need to do this Olympics as much as I can.
Was your confidence as a team high going into that final game? Because that was a raucous arena.
Yeah. No, I think it was. I think the only thing is leading up to 2010, we hadn't won much against Canada.
I don't even think you guys beat us once that year.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing it in. I was going to say not one much. Like I was hoping no one fact checked me, but thanks for fact checking me.
I know exactly.
Fact checked me there. But yeah, if I have honestly, like this is my coach's hat. Like you guys were a better team. Like I think all around a better team. But like everything, like there's always chances when you get a chance to be in a tournament, you get a chance to do things, and we still had a lot of really great, talented players. We just were fairly young at the time too. And so I think heading into there, like we came in knowing that we hadn't had a lot of success in our prelim games heading up. But we know that when you get to the Olympics, then everything's fair game. And we had the chance to win. So even heading to the gold medal game, I think we had a lot of confidence that, hey, it's one game. Yeah. And we can come and we can battle. We had a good tournament and we love playing in Canada. We love the crowds, even if they're booing us. Like, it's okay. Yeah. I think the energy is something that we want to feed off of and you want to be around.
I don't know if you remember this in 2010, but when you guys got your silver medals, the entire place chanted USA, USA, which is like the most hated chant in Canada, by the way. Do you remember that? I kind of got teary-eyed in that moment because Lisa Chesson was my D partner at Ohio State. She was playing on your team. And I remember looking down the line and seeing her, and she just like kind of looked at me and gave me a head nod. And I was like, this is like good for you, Canada. That kind of felt nice, you know?
Yeah. I do vaguely remember, but I kind of was in a different place.
Right.
I was a bit heartbroken too at that point.
Totally.
And it's tough. Like I kind of had it together until I turned around and they were my parents.
Right.
And they hit a soft spot, right? And I think because I know I would never be where I am without what they've given to us, like, and what they've guided and all the different things. So when I turned around and I saw them, and obviously I was bummed, and, I look at it and they're just like mouthing, I love you, and then like tapping their heart, and like I lost it at that point, right? And once that happens, and I'm like all over, it's like, I can't get it back in. So sorry. It's coming out.
Yeah.
Moms and dads, they know how to get you.
No, that's fair. In those moments, it's better to just let it out. We'll stay on the heartbreak for a moment. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
2014 is one of the craziest endings to a hockey game
Wild.
that has ever happened. The Olympics for sure, but any ending to any hockey game, it's one of the most epic. Going into the 2014 games, did you have it in your head that was going to be your last Olympics?
Yeah, I knew that was going to be last. Like, even if I didn't want it to be and say I had the goals of going to 2018, I wouldn't have made that team. Like, I barely made the 2014 team. That's the reality. I was probably with the last forward cut, and it could have gone the other way also. So I think that, I knew that was going to be the last time. So the last time lacing up for a gold medal game in our USA jersey and going out there. But I tried my best, and it's similar to when you graduate from university. You try not to be like, oh, this is like my last home game, or this is my last time practice. And you still have a little bit of that, but the more we get caught up on that, then we kind of miss the moment. So I think I just wanted to enjoy it as much as I can, be the great teammate I could be the greatest teammate I could be, and really give my all. And if I got the nod to go, then I went. And if I didn't, then cheer from the bench, because I wasn't getting a lot of minutes at that point, but we all have roles, and that's what our job is. So how do we then find ways to still give when we're not playing on the ice?
If you meet anybody that got to play with or against Julie Chu, it's like the first thing they all say is the nicest person they've ever met. Hands down, the nicest person. And I think that, you are such an honest leader. You are so true to the fact that you actually do care about people, and you are like the happiest person I've ever met, and it's so contagious and awesome, and I really appreciate that about you, and I love playing against you. I remember like bumping into you in corners and stuff, and you'd be like, oh, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, thanks, Chewy. It's like, wait a minute, what? She got me.
I might be the only person you didn't trash talk, right?
Honestly, you're probably the only person I didn't throw trash at.
There we go.
Yeah, in the history of my whole hockey life, Julie Chu, the only one. But I think that just speaks volume to who you are, because I think it was Hillary Knight that we had on the pod, and she was talking about how badly the team wanted 2014 for you. And that kind of made me a little emotional. That got me. And I think that's pretty cool. Could you feel that the team was like rallying not only for themselves and for their country, but for you?
Yeah, yes and no. I think like we all had lost a bunch, right? And you had Megan Duggan, an incredible leader, incredible person, Hillary Knight, a lot of people that had lost in Olympics and felt it too. And so I think we all had a bit of like, how do we win this to win? But everyone kind of knew that, this was the last go. And I don't know, I'd have to talk more with them, but I think they also, like, I always prided myself to, as I was saying, like, I love the team, and I really believe this. And this is my philosophy as a coach. And what I got from Harvard was this idea of team first. And everyone says it. Team first, it sounds like catchy, right? It's something like nice to say, but how do we live it? And so I remember going to Harvard, and our coaches, but our players taught us team first. And we had some incredible people that did and showed me. And so I saw it firsthand what it actually meant to live it and the roles that we have to have. And so I bought in, but I bought in with a role that was pretty easy to buy in because I was playing a ton. I was in every situation. And so in 2013 was really the first time I was challenged to see if something I believed in starting in 2002 when I went to university, did I actually believe it? Everything I said I believed in team first and what it meant to live it, did I believe in it when I was in a tougher role, playing 3-4 minutes a game at time, on the verge of getting cut or not cut, and whatever it looks like. And I tried my best to, and I hope I was that teammate that was able to still give my best and to still support my teammates as opposed to try to drag them down to maybe make myself better. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of what I was able to do there. And when I hear that they were pulling for me too, it's like that gets me because, I think ultimately we want to win and we want to represent our countries, but the people we get to surround ourselves with, those are the special people. Yeah.
Well, you got to represent your country in a pretty epic way to end that Olympics,
yeah.
At least. Do you remember what it was like when you were told you were going to be the flag bearer at the closing ceremonies?
That made me so happy, by the way. I was cheering for you. This is so well deserved. It was awesome.
No.
But go on.
No, yeah. So it was kind of a whirlwind because I found out the day after we lost in the gold medal game. So that game ended incredibly late. So I think when we got back, like everything was closed at the dining hall. Like there wasn't even anything to really do. And we'd just been crying basically all night. And then the next day we had a little gathering with our friends and family at like 10 a.m. and was still crying at that point. And 5 of us then had to go on a little media tour.
Oh,
and so I was one of the veteran players. So I was on that media tour. And I remember our first interview, it was all of us in the same one and we were all bawling. And literally I felt so bad for this person that had to give it. And they were so sympathetic and awesome. I don't even remember who it was, but we were all ugly crying, man. This is like, and we're trying to get it together, but
Why
then
do
like,
I feel like we need these days.
yes,
I gotta be out there.
I would, but then like, Jesse Vetter was a part of that, like there, and I love Jesse Vetter, like our goaltender at the time, and the producer, like Kess was there, but there was just all of us, and honestly, we were just in a low place and we hadn't slept. So we kind of emptied it in that interview. So I apologize to that person. And then we had to do the same interview over and over because it's a media tour. So you basically have to do 10 of these in a row. And then suddenly, like, around the 5th, we were actually okay. We had it together and we were like, maybe even like being able to like appreciate things.
Therapeutic.
Yeah. And then we had one where I was standing and you had the interviewer that was already started with us standing and someone came and started to whisper something in his ear. And when something like that happens, you kind of get nervous, to be honest, because his face stayed pretty like straight. So you're like, is there something bad that they're saying? And like, we're going to have to answer something controversial in the middle when we were like in this like delirious state. And he said, well, I just want to let you know that we just heard that you were named the U.S. closing ceremony flag bearer, like live on air. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I didn't even know it was consideration. And then all the teammates went nuts. So that kind of ended our media tour in a happy way. And it was pretty cool.
What an emotional roller coaster of a day for you and your teammates.
Absolutely. And what's cool about it I don't know how other countries do, but it's actually voted on by the other athletes. So I actually do think it was Kendall Coyne that nominated me. And then her and Casey Bellamy we're doing a little bit of the chat with the other captains and the other leaders that were a part of the discussion. And so because there's always like really great people. So I think it's even more meaningful that it came from the other athletes too.
Leave it to Kendall Coyne.
Yeah.
To get something going. Hey, go figure.
She can lead an initiative, that girl.
She's pretty good. Pretty good.
She's kind of good at it. You turned to coaching after the Olympics game, this time with the Concordia Stingers.
Mm-hmm.
Played some hockey with some of them out there today, by the way. They're pretty damn good. I try to set a rule where if you're under 30, you're not allowed to play harder than 60% because we were going to be trying 100 and it might equal out. And I don't think any of them listened to me. Nonetheless, your fiance, Caroline Ouellette,
my wife.
One of my. Did you guys actually pull the trigger and get married?
In COVID times. Yeah.
I did not know that.
We are.
Did you sneaky do that?
Yeah, we just sneaky did it.
You.
Tessa's actually pissed.
I'm so mad right now.
Because so now, like a bunch of years later, we probably need the party coming up soon, right?
This is
okay.
That's exactly what she was rattled about. No wedding.
Yeah, I apologize for that. But it's also when we had kids, like we just wanted to make sure all those logistics and things were taken care of. And it was good. We were in COVID.
I wish everyone,
not?
if you guys are just listening to this audio base, Tessa's face is so distraught right now. She doesn't even know how to continue the interview.
I'm so sad. Can we organize your party for you? We will organize such a good party.
We would take this in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Nice.
But then you're stuck with us attending, right? You know that?
I actually, your invites for the first one's already stamped.
Perfect.
Real mail, by the way.
Yeah. Nice.
Now that the strike is over. Look, when you came on to this team, I'm not saying they were an okay team. Now they're a team that you don't want to mess with. So what values did you guys instill when you first started that really changed the game?
Yeah, as I talked about, I try to live who I am and I try to share that with others. So they had good people. Les Lawton, who was the head coach prior to it, and I joined the program, really good people, good person and community person. But I think I came and just tried to influence the group and really set a few more standards and concrete ways of our team first culture. And how do you live that? Like, how do we actually work hard every single day, whether we're together or in the summer in preparation? How do we have a positive attitude? And I think for me, a positive attitude doesn't mean that we're always smiling and cheering and laughing, which I love. But that's part of it. But how do we take adversity and difficult situations and choose to see the positive in it? So I make a bad pass, you intercept it, you go score. Well, darn, I don't need to cheer about that, but I can come back and either say, man, like I'm crap, or hey, it was Julia's fault, not mine.
I had my man.
Yep, yeah, that's
got my
fine.
guy.
I was covering the water bottle over there, you know?
Yeah.
Or I can say, okay, this is what I did wrong and this is how I'm going to be better, right? So there's always a way to see a positive even in a difficult situation. And so I think just putting some of that in. And then the last one is just accepting and owning our roles. And when we do that, then everyone has value and everyone feels value. And once we start with that basis, we have players that, want to get on board, that believe in that same concept and want to work hard. And I think it's really fun to see where we've come because it took a bit of resistance at first because everyone likes the idea, but living it is tough. And so getting the right people on our team was a big part of it as well. And then having the development of skills and systems and tactics, like all the stuff that we have to still do.
Well, I just want to give OUA a quick shout out because I started in hockey by covering the OUA and media coverage.
Nice.
What's it like for the couple youth sports girls that you've seen go on to the PWHL? Like, do you have an extra amount of pride when you see them?
Absolutely. We have our captain from last
Yeah.
year, Emmy Fecto, that's with the New York Sirens.
She's hilarious, by the way.
Yeah.
Is she a good time?
Yeah,
She
is.
seems like
funny.
it.
She likes it.
She's
She
high
is,
on our
and-
list of people we need on the podcast.
Absolutely. And she loves to make people laugh too. I think that brings her a lot of joy. She's a high energy person and she's a warrior. Oh, like if you come to practice and you want someone that's going to compete and battle in every moment, if someone's going to start the drill with intensity and set the tone, it's her. And when she's not at practice with us, like you felt the absence of it, right? Like she's one of those players. And so it's awesome to see how hard she worked and prepared for not only this past year, but like for a long time to know where she wanted to go. And for her to be able to be drafted and to make the team is really, really exciting. We had another player, Bridget Lagunier, last year that was on the team as a defenseman for the Montreal PW team. And like all those things are really proud because like as I am in this, like the people are who we care about and they are like, now I'm older, they really are like our kids, like, right? And we care about them as their development as a hockey player, but we care about them as people. And that's ultimately what we want to help them in their journey and then see them be awesome in their next part of their journey.
You and Caro, it's like the love story that everyone loved way back in the day. You guys were the OGs. I feel that it was just like known that, you two were on two rival teams, dating. Everyone on the teams were okay with it. But like, I don't think anyone knows like the beginning of your story. Would you mind sharing that? How the Chulettes is what we call them came to be?
Yeah. So, hockey is a really small world and women's hockey, especially a small world. So I've gotten a chance to obviously at that point played against her in 2002. But hadn't really crossed paths like beyond that, right? At the same time, we didn't go to the same school. She went to Duluth eventually. I was at Harvard. But then eventually we went to a hockey camp in Peterborough, Ontario and had a chance to meet at that point. And to be honest, what's that?
City of Dreams,
City of Dreams.
Peterborough.
Are you
Love
connected to it?
Not at all. It's just a hilarious place for a story like that.
It is, right? So it was fun because we had a lot of us that worked that camp from different places.
worked
and
it?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if I was there. Was I there that year?
I
No,
don't
I
know
was
if you're
too
on
young.
that one.
Yeah.
No, not
I was
for
probably
this
a camper
one.
at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you again.
Just kidding.
No, but you probably were. So we met at the camp, but at the time I actually was dating someone. So I just met her as a friend. But then probably about a month later, my ex-girlfriend broke up with me and then we stayed friends for a while chatting and we're kind of heading towards the Olympics and then the 2006 Olympics, which was kind of funny. So this is 2005, the summer that this kind of all happened and we just kind of stayed in touch at the time and started to become more friends and then go from there. And so it was a little bit sneaky because you don't see each other as often. So you're connecting and with each other as much as you can. And then you see each other, at tournaments where you're competing or, like rivalry games at the time. So
Did you guys ever sneaky go for like lunch and stuff behind our team's backs?
Yeah, we had times off. So we'd go a little sneaky places.
You
but
did,
no,
eh? Good for you.
But not a ton because you know how packed it is too,
Yeah.
right? So if anything, you kind of try to just go for a walk at some point or just something short because it's not as if you have a ton of time. So, but a little bit if you can and try to find that because, it's trying to make some connections and have some, get a chance to build a relationship when you're not in the same place. But it was pretty cool. But everyone always asked me about it. Like, how does it work? And I think it was good because neither of us like to take penalties. So that was a good thing. So we weren't necessarily the jerks on the team. We weren't the trash talkers.
Yeah.
Right? But Carolyn's game face is probably a little bit more serious than mine, which is basically this.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
No, that wasn't me. But I think that, for us, we did our best to just make sure that we were also separating the two, that we were really, when we were with our team, it was about our team. And, there's some sacredness of that experience with your team that you also keep within yourself too. But then you also get a chance, I think for me, is that you get someone that becomes your best friend that knows exactly what you're going through, even if it's on a rival team.
It's funny she says that because in 06, Caro played defense too.
Oh, yeah.
What? Yeah. Oh my
Wasn't she
gosh,
called
that's
at
She
some
made the
point?
team as a D.
Wasn't that at some point you guys made her something like the savior or something?
Yeah, we called her the savior because Mel said, "Look, we're not putting her back here because we need a savior or anything." And it was like soon as she said Kara was going back on D, I was like, "I'm cut. Like I don't have a chance."
Who just told that
Becky
story?
Keller.
Oh my gosh, it was you and Becky. We were
Yeah,
just
on the
talking about
road.
this.
Yeah, hilarious. And also, you both were 13. It just felt like it was. You guys are just so simpatico. It just worked out. I remember actually the first time hearing that you two were together, and I was like, "How the hell?" Because like I'm super competitive, but I was like, I don't think I would take it. I think I would be harder on the person that I was dating if we were playing against each
Right.
other. And I remember being like, well, let's see how this plays out. And I remember you two were lining up next to each other on an opening face-off. And I was like, let's see how this goes. And it was like, I'm pretty sure Carol like whacked your stick and you gave her a nudge back. And I was like, I'm cool with it. This is good. Was there a moment that you had to address your relationship with your team at all? Or was it always just so kosher and no one really cared?
No, not really. I think but the same thing. Like it's just part of who we are. And if you are a good teammate and you get a chance to just be, then I think like we're in good places. But it's always like everything. Like it's almost like, oh, like how is this? As you said, like what's it going to be like? But I think for the most part, especially like we were pretty private in public about it, because at the time it wasn't something that was more open, and not necessarily that I felt suffocated that we didn't want to share it. Like as we said, our team knew, your team knew, like coaches and like so people within the organizations knew, and other teams as well, and that was fine. But at the time, like we'd get questions, like on the media tour leading up to Olympics. Oh, so hey, are you dating everyone? And you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Because, and not that we
Single,
wanted
ready to mingle.
Imagine getting asked that on a media tour
I don't-
now, because that used to be like when the women's Olympians would come out 4 times a year, like once every 4 years. They'd be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, are you dating anyone?" Imagine somebody asking that question now in a scrum.
Or you just be like, I'm on Bumble, hit me up.
They
You
might
know,
get
like,
smacked. I can't
Yeah.
imagine.
100% getting smacked. But I feel like it was okay because you were like technically an honorary Canadian. Like everyone on her team loved Chewy. Do you know what I mean? Like there was no Chewy.
That's so funny.
There'd be a scuffle going on and Julie would come in with a big smile and be like, okay, guys, break it up. We'd be like, okay, sorry, Julie. You know what I mean? And I feel like on the
hug
flip
here.
and on the flip side, I felt like Kara was that to the Americans. I can't speak for your locker room, but I think that's why it was just so kosher and cool.
Yeah. Okay. The thing that today when I was poking around at your elite prospects doing research, on your elite prospects page, it says spouse, Carolyn Ouellette. And I had never seen that in my life.
Yeah.
I checked Poulin, I checked State. Nobody else had it, to the point that I texted someone at Elite Prospects and I was like, have you ever seen this before? I've never seen spouse on someone's page. And this person has worked there for like almost a decade and
Yeah.
she'd never seen it either. So I think you guys did just get the tag because you are the OGs.
Well, I appreciate it. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know how to lead prospects. They wasn't around when I was around. I'm just like, you know.
The response I got was, well, unless they requested it themselves, I think someone just did it for respect. I was like, okay, they definitely didn't request it themselves.
Julia literally texted me. She's like, I've never seen this. I was like, they're the OGs. And she's like, they walked so everyone could run. I was like, you're just
really
getting
did.
so emotional about this. Nonetheless,
I love it.
we love you. We love Kara. We love your family, by the way, your 2 kids. I'm going to throw this out there just to end this. Julie named her second child
After you.
after me.
You have a Tessa?
She got little Tessa.
Oh,
Tessa,
wow.
Yep. And she does have black hair and brown eyes, so not quite Tessa. There wasn't quite a chance for blue eyes and blonde hair, but you know, the name and spirit, that's what we're hoping.
She's hilarious. She's not a Buckeye fan. I sent her a Buckeye t-shirt. Julie put it on her and she cried for a while. I was like, it's okay. You can just go to Harvard. It's fine. It's cool.
If you give her anything rainbow now, she'll love it though.
Yeah.
Rainbows and sparkles.
And unicorns.
Unicorns,
That's
all
where
those
I'm at
things.
too. God, I wanted a tomboy. I got none of it, but that's okay. I still love Annie to boots and I love Tessa and Liv as well. We love you. Thank you for coming on and do this. You're such a blast. I feel like it's always good to have Julie Chu time.
Well, thank you guys. This was so much fun. I feel honored to be on this, to be honest. And
Aw.
it's a great time and you guys are doing awesome things too. So proud of both of you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. And again, guys, that segment is presented by Bravado Designs, official broad partner of the PWHL, offering an understated, uncomplicated collection of intimate apparel that makes you feel beautiful, uplifted, and confident underneath it all. Apologies to Julie's dad. He wasn't supposed to catch so many strays there, but that was, he seemed to catch them over and over again in that interview.
It's okay. And he's the man that him and his wife were the one that made it all happen, that made the move, that met each other when they were 16, that gutted and grinded it out so their daughter could be God's gift to the game of hockey in the USA. You see why everyone loved her. I know that was a longer interview, everyone, but like it was so easy chatting with Chewy, and there was still stuff that I didn't even touch on. Julia.
I know. Thank you, Jody
Like-
at CCM, because we did that after. We did that after the 3-on-3 game outside, and then the interview ended, and it was like 10:30 at night, and everybody was gone from the event except for us. But we just couldn't stop yapping. We were too deep into the chat.
We 100% missed the party.
Yeah, we did. But
And
we
then
got
they were
some
like, "Can
partying
you guys
anyways.
get out?"
Seriously, we were like locked in the building. We were in there having that conversation for so long. So thank you, CCM. Thank you, Julie, for that. That was a special conversation. And now it's time for our favorite little Tuesday segment, Tessa. It's the Send It segment. Guys, if you have questions for us about the PWHL, about our podcast, about us in general, about anything you want to know about your favorite team or rule or anything like that, fire us a question, jocksandjills@gmail.com, or you can hit us on X at Jocks and Jills, hit us on Instagram at Jocks and Jills, YouTube, Spotify, comments, same thing. We keep an eye on all those things. If you have a question for the segment, just fire it in and we'll answer it on Tuesday. This one,
Please, we love to hear from you.
Tessa. Yeah, we love it. This one, Tessa, is one that I know you've been answering in your own family home over the past week. I know Ed was asking you about this too.
Yeah.
But everybody in Toronto is dying to know. Listen, is there any timeline for Spooner's return? How much do you think her absence explains Toronto's current struggles? This one comes from Kendi the Tendy, which I have to say is an excellent handle. So congratulations. That's from Kendall Smythe.
I had chatted with Gina, and her answer is always the same, where she doesn't want to put a date on anything because she doesn't want to set that expectation and then have it not be real. So,
Yeah.
which is fair. And, we don't know what's going on with Spooner's rehab or how she's doing. They've kept their cards pretty close to their chest. So we don't know if there were any setbacks or anything. But like in seeing her in and around the rink when we are at those games, Julia, she seems pretty lively, upbeat, and happy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the original timeline, like what generally happens with people who blow their ACL, her timeline was into this new year. It wasn't to and I think everyone was saying, well, they're not even going to get her at all this coming year. You know what I mean? And it was like, well, maybe the tail end, and people were conversing, and then she was really confident about how her rehab was going at first. And then everyone just gets excited because they see Spooner skating. And that's it.
Yeah.
I think it's important for Spooner to be away. This team needs to learn to win without her. And they are right there. Like I said at the beginning of the show, they are right there.
Do you think that there is a certain amount of this in the room of like Spooner's going to come back and get a bunch of goals? Do you think that's
No.
like a subconscious thing?
No, I don't think so. But I mean, you never know. I'm not in that room, but I if I was in that locker room, there's no way I'd be thinking, it's all right, guys. That's just like 6 losses in a row. We're good. Spooner's going to be back sometime. Like, no way. No way.
Yeah.
And if that's the convo, I'm walking over and I'm like backhanding whoever said it. Like, no, we can win ourselves. All of us in this room
It does feel
together.
like a light at the end of like, listen, they're right there and they got Spooner coming back at some point. Like it feels like a breath of positivity that you could use.
You can rely on, yeah. But then you think now that's shuffling the lineup again.
That's true.
Right? Right when you got lines cooking. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that one, Kendall. Hello. The question was raised. Oh, we've got some photos for this one too, Tessa, that we could add into the mix.
Okay.
Question was raised during the Hillary Knight interview about whether someone rappelled from the ceiling at the 2007 Women's World Championships in Winnipeg.
Oh, yeah.
I can confirm that the military did, and it was after Canada won gold. Here's a couple of pics. Have a great day from Tammy. Tammy, thank you for these photos, because I don't know if I really would have believed this or remembered this if I didn't actually have a visual look at them, but can confirm they did have army dudes coming from the ceiling after you guys won worlds that year.
I did not remember that. Not for a
Maybe
second.
you're just too wrapped up in it.
I mean,
Feels
it
like
was in Winnipeg. My family was there. I was probably looking around, ADHD kicked in full force, waving to my
Feel that.
parents, talking to whoever. I do not remember that, but that is cool.
Fairness, they
and
were
I
wearing
love that it
camo.
happened.
Their camo was just too good.
Can
All right.
I throw one out there for you?
Tell me.
At Amber Rice 06. Hey, Julie, I hope you're doing well. I love following your career. You're absolutely amazing. And I love the podcast so much. I was wondering, as a question for the Send It segment, if you could talk about where you went to university and what program you took. Love following your content over the past few years. You're amazing and such an inspiration. Keep it up. First of all, yes, Julia is a boss.
Aw.
She is the best social media person I think I've come in contact with. So please answer the
Thanks,
question where you
Tess.
got your training.
I would say that, first of all, thank you, Amber, and thank you, Tessa. You guys are making me blush. I went to, at the time it was Ryerson, now it's TMU. I went to the sport media program. I would honestly highly recommend it if this is the neck of the woods you want to get into, because like all of my profs in school were industry professionals. Like Tessa, you and I used to work with Dawn Landis at TSN. She was one of my profs in school. Like, so it was cool to have that connection and just feel like you were immediately connected to the industry. And then honestly, Amber, I would just say make your own content. Like the world is honestly the stage these days. If you can make your own TikToks and reels and stuff like that, it's almost like everybody's on an even playing field now, Tess, with the way that content is so accessible and easy to make. And there's so many people out there with good ideas now. I feel like companies, and like when I used to work at TSN, I know that my boss would keep tabs on like who was making really good content, even if it wasn't somebody that was working for an outlet. I feel like that's the way lots of people get jobs now. So appreciate you, Amber, for the love on the content, and make your own stuff, girl. I'm sure you have awesome ideas, and if you got good ideas, just make it and start to execute them. It's the best way to get a little bit better.
Nice. All right. I think that's the end of it. Covered all the bases.
That wraps us up for this week. We've this is a long episode probably, but we appreciate you guys hanging out with us every week. Again, follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, on X. We're Jocks and Jills on every platform. Hit us with a subscribe if you can on YouTube, and on Spotify and on Apple Music. Keep an eye out for this, guys, but at some point over the next couple of weeks, our content's going to be moving over to the PWHL YouTube page. So do not be afraid if you look up Jocks and Jills on YouTube and you're not seeing our stuff. It's all going to be under the PWHL YouTube page, and I feel like that's going to happen this week. So do not be afraid. We did not disappear. We're just hiding somewhere else. So come find us on the PWHL's YouTube. Until then, we'll talk to you guys on Friday.